I have a bold prediction to start the show,
Love
non-NFL,
it.
but football related, college football. I predict,
Okay.
off of new information, that the Michigan Wolverines will win the national title in 4 years from
In 4 years, who did they get as,
now. It's not who they got; it's what
oh,
the
it's Manning. It's, Manning's son
it's,
at quarterback, isn't it?
no, that'd be sick if that was the
Okay.
news that dropped. The news
Yeah.
is, I think, actually disturbing, but I think
Mm.
it's actually really great if you're spinning it as a football fan. Michigan announced today that for incoming freshmen starting this year, there will be no grades. The
What?
college will be giving no grades at all for
To any
freshmen,
freshman?
like A through F. They're going to grade it on some other sort of scale,
Just pass, fail,
I,
essentially?
because of
Uh,
mental health concerns. So
Interesting.
I don't. We don't need to go too deep in the weeds on how whether you find that is a good or a bad thing. As a football fan, you could argue, dude, show up to Michigan and you don't have to worry about passing any of your
Well,
classes freshman year.
for freshmen, yes, and then transferring out come sophomore
Yeah, right.
year, so
Let's
they're gonna
start.
have to be some college football ready freshmen coming in
Yeah,
to make this work, but
but
yeah,
it could
interesting.
work. And then you get one of those guys in the program who's really really good, and then you just got to get him some C's through sophomore, junior, senior year. It'd be fine. Just coast your freshman year. If you're a freshman star quarterback who knows he's going to redshirt anyways, be like, dude, I just go to Michigan for a whole year, not have to worry about grades. That's
Yeah. Even if you're, like, amazing, like, you're a great student, but you're like, I don't have to, like, really worry about, contributing to my GPA at all for
yeah,
freshman year.
yeah, dude. I
Interesting.
mean, I don't. If we don't need to get into, like I said, what the world is coming to, and maybe it's the right thing, maybe it's the wrong thing. We stay away from that. But my immediate thought was like, for recruiting, Kyle Whittingham's
Just
probably going like,
an enticing, selling point.
hey
That's for
guys,
sure.
just mental health. It's too hard to get grades, but you're doing great on the football field.
I thought at first you were gonna say, you're predicting the North Carolina Tar Heels to win the national championship next year. I was
No,
like, "Yeah."
Northwestern though. Did you see Northwestern? Their new stadium is opening. It looks incredible. I mean,
Oh, really? I didn't
it
even know they
looks
were
like
getting a new stadium.
now it's look it up. It's like a $300 million stadium on the lake in
Damn.
Evanston. It looks like a mini Vegas stadium. It's like smaller. It only holds like
The
30 or
dome?
40. No, it's not a dome.
Okay.
But it's open air. It looks incredible. It's opening up finally on the lake, and they just got like a $35 million donor investment from like uber rich people, specifically just for football recruiting.
There you go. All right.
Northwestern.
Maybe Northwestern's gonna return to glory.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. We move on to the NFL.
Yeah, the NFC and AFC South are previews. Had a fun time dissecting the East and the East of both AFC and NFC conferences. Now we look to the South. So let's dive in. By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't quickly touch on the Tony Romo news. My dad was quick to remind me that we didn't cover it at all,
We did not.
and he was wondering what was up with that. We did mean to talk about it during our Cowboys preview
Yeah.
last week, but it didn't hit there. I just saw news come out today that CBS has said there's no timetable currently for the return of Tony Romo. I've seen a lot of things about this. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, he was arrested for DUI and then subsequently placed on leave by CBS, which was an interesting choice because there was nothing to go on leave from during this time. There's no games now, some preseason, but he wasn't going to be on any of those calls. So it did kind of signal that CBS maybe Mark was looking for an opportunity to start to kind of move off of Tony Romo a little bit. There are a lot of stories coming out over the last couple of years about preparation and perhaps not being the easiest to work with from a punctuality standpoint. Now those are just reports, nothing ironclad, But there has been speculation now that CBS is taking this opportunity to say, okay, we can get JJ Watt now in that number one spot, which he has been elevated to, and and for them to kind of begin moving on. But a fan favorite and an interesting turn of events for Mr. Romo.
Dude, yeah, for me, it's one of those. I don't know where to go with it. Romo, I've enjoyed Romo. I know he's not as good as he was when he burst onto the scene. Like that was like, holy crap, this guy's awesome. It does feel as though it hasn't evolved, and it does feel as though
Yeah, it
now,
faded. It got old a little bit, right?
yeah, it does feel now that he's farther away. It's like he just doesn't have the same pop or zip. And Nance is so good.
Yeah,
Nance to me is the best big game voice we have left. I love Joe Buck,
absolutely.
and I love Joe and Troy together. I've really grown to love them. Um, Tarico's got a great voice. Tarico's good, but
Ian
NBC's booth,
Eagle's really, really good.
I
I
like.
think he's excellent. Him and JJ were such a good pairing. It looks like your mic went awry once again. These good old technology these days. Unfortunately, we can't hear you, bud, but that's okay. I'll keep the train on the tracks. Um, Yeah, there's some really good pairings in the NFL. Greg Olson to me has been my favorite color guy for quite some time. Tom Brady has elevated his game over time, but yeah, Tony Romo, it was one of those guys where early on the way that he presented the game was different from anything we had ever heard. How he was able to kind of talk like a fan, but bring the element of knowing exactly what play was coming next and calling it routinely. That's what he built his brand on. But then lately, it's been, Danny Parkins said something in an interview with Colin Coward that resonated with me. He was like, I think people are starting to get a little sick of oh, I don't know, Jim,
Yeah,
because he's always saying, I don't know now. And he's like, no, you're the analyst. You're supposed to actually tell us like what should be happening now on fourth down in these situations
yeah,
versus just always saying, I don't know. It could go either
yeah.
way.
Well,
Crazy stuff could be happening.
well, they owe him a lot of money, and so I think that's where it's really going to come down to is like, do they have to go through the steps of like in his contract, like suspension to termination? Do they going to owe him money or not? Like that to me
Right,
is where
right.
it's going to come down to. I
They've
would
said there's like some sort of moral clause,
probably they could
which
get away with that,
is
but they might have to
probably
wait.
in anything.
They might have to wait for the legal process to go all the way
Yeah,
through, right?
right, right. Yeah,
And
I would assume
so,
so.
listen, if you're Tony, I would imagine he would get a studio job pretty quickly. Like you know what I
And it's
mean?
his first offense, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah,
like the guy's like, unless there's other types of offenses that we don't know about that
yeah.
maybe the CBS knew about
This
internally.
isn't
I
Mark
don't know.
Sanchez, right? This isn't Mark
Right, right.
Sanchez. This is, he made a mistake. No one was injured, thankfully. So we'll see. Listen, JJ Watt is going to be great with Nance. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, he is.
If
He's
you're Greg
awesome.
Olson, you wonder if you feel like maybe this is your chance if things don't go great for JJ Watt. But JJ, if you're JJ, it's like that.
Well,
It's like the
Greg's on Fox, right?
no, I
So
know, but a lot of people have said like if
yeah, to take the
CBS
head
at the
spot.
end of the
I
year
got
wants to make a change, because
yeah.
I do think
I
Greg right
would.
now,
Greg Olson got the shaft, man. That was
yeah,
unfair, I thought.
Greg to me is still the best color guy right now in the NFL. I mean, better of the big game people. I like him obviously better than Collinsworth, Watt,
Brady.
Romo, Brady.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. It's fun. Listen, I'm just excited to hear what Carrie Underwood's new Sunday night sounds like. That's all.
I did enjoy Mike Tomlin on the
I mean,
Football
yeah,
Night in America crew. I thought he did pretty well. You could tell he was a little nervous during certain portions, like his interview with Bryce Young and everything. Which I hate the fact that they make these reporters now walk towards the camera with the subject of the interview, and it's like they're walking the length of the field. I'm like, why? This is like kind of weird. Now they have to pay attention to their pacing on top of
it's
everything else.
yeah, it's doesn't
Anyways,
it's yeah.
we
I'm
did
with you.
get some football that was kind of cool, and I guess we can start there, Mark. We had the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals, so let's start with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah,
You're in the NFC. They
NFC
are the
South.
reigning NFC South champions, which was
It's crazy to think about.
crazy development. Even as the year was progressing, it didn't seem like that was going to happen. But Bryce Young really came into his own. I think this Dave Canales youthful movement throughout the roster has worked out pretty well so far. Now they were just 8-9, but Tedero and McMillan showed up as like a true legitimate wide receiver. Jalen Coker's come along. Rico Dowdle has moved on, so that's something that they're going to have to fill. But they've got some draft capital in that position, and I mean, they definitely lost some dudes, but they gained some as well. And I will point out that Ike Ekwonu, their first round pick from just a couple years ago, the big tackle, he suffered an injury. So it's already, I remember you tweeted like, let's remember this for when we do the previews. Gonna have a
They're
slow
injured.
start to the year. So do you still have them
They lost
starting slow?
They lost a couple other people, I think, in camp.
Since
Maybe not
then,
everyone out for the year, but I know he's the one, like the main big piece. Listen, we can talk about training camp injuries. Kobe Bryant for the Bears today. That was the news that he's going to miss the whole season. It's just
I didn't even.
4 to 6 months. They're saying surgery. So it was originally like 6 to 8 weeks. Now it's 4 to 6 months because he had surgery. It's just
Laramie Tunsil is going to be
Laramie Tunsil. I know we just did the
Washington.
NFC. Yeah, I know we just did the East, and Tunsil's going to impact that. That's a huge loss.
Yeah, massive.
So I'll say this about Carolina. When I'm going through the things I look at when we do these previews, year 4 Bryce Young stands out to me big time. Like, remember, this was a guy who got soft benched even just last year. There was a time. He has not yet started 17 games. He is playing through his rookie contract. This is a ginormous year for him. If they do not win, enough games, he's 100% going to be replaced with a top 10 draft pick at quarterback, right? Like they're going to have to move on from him. So if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, it's one of those years where it feels like, do we want our team to win, or do we know the writing's on the wall? Bryce Young's not our guy to win a Super Bowl with. So should we almost be hoping for things to fall apart? I don't really know. I will say they do have weapons.
I thought he played. I mean, they lost to the the Rams by 3. Wild card.
Young. Again, it's like it feels very much like a lot of guys they're in the league right now, like the Brock Purdy's and stuff, where you're like, I mean, if you're efficient with the football and you're getting to the weapons they now have, it can be interesting. Chuba Hubbard, Tet McMillan, Leggett, Mechie the third, another wide receiver they brought in, who's had a tumultuous start to his career. But again, a guy with a ton of talent. It's a solid O-line, even without the Ekwonu, the injury with him.
Yeah, I mean, they're lucky they picked up Rasheed Walker and spent a first-round pick on the position. Otherwise, they'd be in real trouble.
Yeah, and Lewis is a really solid player. When you look at the defense, Derek Brown, Devin Lloyd, Jalen Phillips, J.C. Horn, there's some guys. There's some nice players there. I will say, when I always talk about the schedule too, the one thing that stands out for me, after their week 4 bye, Dan, it is a brutal stretch for the Carolina.
When's their bye?
Week 4.
Is it really? Oh my God, that sucks.
So they have the brutal early bye, and then Dan, after the bye, it's Chicago, Atlanta, Cleveland. Okay.
There should be no buys before week 7, in my opinion.
I would agree. But so let's say, okay, Chicago, Atlanta, Cleveland. Okay, that's not the worst thing in the world, right?
No, I would Chicago's say 2-1,
oh no, sorry. Sorry, this is to start the season. It is a week 4 bye. This is I'm rereading my notes. This is what I meant by this. They have to be at least 2-2 going into their week 4 bye, because you have Chicago, Atlanta, Cleveland, Detroit. So let's say Chicago and Detroit are their losses. Atlanta's not a gimme, and they're at Atlanta for that game. You're at Cleveland for the other game.
Yeah, you got to win that.
Those are tough games. You could easily see them 1-3 through that stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not 2-2 post that week 4 bye, which again, early bye is devastating, it's Philly, Tampa, Green Bay, Denver. They're not favored in any of those matchups.
I guess in that regard, it's good to have the bye ahead of that crazy 3-game stretch.
So as far as your first 8 games go, you have the better quarterback in maybe 2 of the 8, and that's if you're saying he's better than Tua, and we're saying he's better than whatever Cleveland's going to throw out there. But your roster is not better than maybe Tampa. You could argue it's close with Tampa, but I think Tampa's probably got a better roster and a much better quarterback. It's a tough tough 8-game stretch
That
with an
is.
early bye.
Yeah.
So just put yourself in Carolina's shoes. If they are, let's say, 2-2 at the bye, and then they lose 4 straight, and they're 2-6, and have already had a bye, could you not see this being a team that goes, okay, we know what we need to do. We need to move on from Bryce Young, and we need to go get ourselves our quarterback. We don't want to win any more games. So it's a really, really, really crucial start to the season for Bryce Young and Carolina. For many reasons, but I think that's the biggest one.
Well, yeah, especially because you don't want to. You just won the division last year. You don't want to take a step back. Like it'd be another thing, and it's probably unfair, but it'd be another thing if they were the same record 8-9, but didn't win the division. They have a little bit more room to play with in terms of like growing. But it's like now you're the defending division champs. You have to defend that and continue to grow on top of that. And so the expectations now is you got to make the playoffs, and that likely means winning this division. So there is definitely pressure on this team, despite what the expectations have been the
Yep.
previous like 3 years. You could argue, but it's good. This is the position that you want to be in, is to have expectations. So yeah, maybe they'll get some more answers on the quarterback front and see if they really do have something in Bryce Young after this year. Let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next, then, because they did have
Sure.
the same record, 8-9, but they lost out due to the tiebreaker there. Tampa's an interesting one. Obviously, they've been in headlines recently because Baker Mayfield is, calling out ownership for not getting him the new deal that he's expected. Your boy Colin has pointed out you're a $40 million cap hit this year. Like, what more do you want in terms of what we've seen quarterbacks achieve when they are taking up a giant cap hit? I mean, even some of the greats, like Mahomes and Allen and Burrow, like when you have these giant cap hits, it really puts reins in the team. And Baker Mayfield's not in that class, right? So he'll have a motivated approach to this year, but it definitely was a down year. I mean, after Baker had performed so well and helped keep the floor high that was elevated there by Brady and company when they got there, they started 6-2, Mark, and then lost the division. A brutal ending to the season, 2-7. So yeah, there's a lot that they're going to have to clean up, and they have to do it while losing Mike Evans, Rashad White, Jamel Dean, like some big names. Devontae David retired. So yeah, what's your expectations for Tampa?
Year 9 for Baker, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah,
I will say this. I think it's smart of the Bucs to let Baker just play out his contract because, listen, a motivated Baker is always a good thing. I also think that if you're the Bucs, I'm willing to get into a bidding war with Baker Mayfield, and depending on what happens, I don't see many teams clamoring at the end of the year, even if Baker has another 30-plus touchdown season. I don't see many teams saying we want to sign him to more than a 3-year deal and more than $40 million a year, right? Like, I just don't see many teams willingly signing up for that. Todd Bowles, to me, it's one of those things. It's kind of crazy. Of all the coaches we talked about over and over, they got fired, 10 changes. The fact that Todd Bowles survived after the way this team finished the season, it feels like it's just bad vibes all around Tampa Bay going into this season. Vita Vea obviously requesting the trade as well. We don't know how that is going to result. But Dan, when you look at offensively, if I have a motivated Baker Mayfield with Bucky Irving, Kenny Gainwell, Emeka Ibuka, Chris Godwin, Cade Otton, a really solid O-line with Wirfs and Mouch and Barton, it's hard for me to say like I'm too down on the team. You know what I mean? When you look at overall, especially in this division, it feels a lot like they still feel like they might have the roster overall to beat. Now I know without Vita Vea, the defense takes a huge drop, but you imagine if you can convince Vita Vea to stay and he plays for you with Ruben Bain Jr. They get Alex Anzalone. You have Diaby, Antoine Winfield Jr.
Josiah Trotter they drafted in the second round. Like,
yeah.
And they get Ashawn Robinson in the trenches. This defense used to be like the
Yeah.
oldest defense for like 4 years straight, right? We were like, they are
Now
so
feels
old.
young.
Now they're starting, yeah, now they're starting to actually get a good mix.
So the problem is really going to be bowls and what the kind of the vibes are, and that's a really hard thing to judge. I will say schedule wise, 3 of their final 4 games. If Tampa is in the mix late, they have a really, really unique end of the year. It is home against New Orleans. These are the final games, final 4 games. Home against New Orleans, at Atlanta, versus the Rams at New Orleans. So both of their New Orleans
Wow.
games and an Atlanta game, 3 of their last 4. And in the mix there, the Rams. That to me feels like if things aren't going really well by that point in time, it could just completely fall off the wheels. And so it's going to be really hard for me to judge where Tampa falls in this division, basically because you have to kind of choose on vibes. Because on roster, on paper, I feel like I like them to win the division, but on vibes, I feel like maybe like them third in this division.
This will probably be the hardest division to clock in terms of who. It's hard to make even a prediction of who will win this division because the 3 teams that were 8-9
Yeah,
last year,
I'll say this. I feel very strongly, barring any sort of catastrophic injury, I feel very strongly the Saints will not be last in the division.
Okay,
I
that's
can
fair.
see
Yeah.
Atlanta, Tampa, and Carolina all having easily the wheels falling off, right? I cannot see that for the Saints. If Shuck is healthy and their youth and their momentum and their weapons, I don't see them falling the wheels falling off and all of a sudden they're last in the division.
Yeah, I mean 6-11 last year, and there was a lot of optimism around the team. Like you almost felt like this was a team that we were talking about being in the race, even though that wasn't actually the case. They did have those vibes around them. I do want to go to Atlanta since they were
Sure.
the
Yeah.
other team tied for, well, not tied, but in third place with the 8-9 record. Stefanski comes in, Kirk Cousins out. It's Penix and Tua. You got Jawan Taylor to join the offensive line there. You got Avion Terrell on the defensive side. They did add quite a few people,
And they
as
lost
well as
Walker. They lost Walker for the year.
they did. That's a really tough
Yeah.
loss. Bijan, oh yeah, they
Gets
don't have
paid.
Tyler Algier anymore, but
Yeah.
Bijan's
Bijan got
there.
paid.
Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they've got dudes. They went and drafted Branch, the wide receiver. So they've got still offense
Yeah.
to contend with. And now you bring in Kevin Stefanski. Do you expect Kevin Stefanski, the addition of Stefanski, but the subtraction of, Cousins, who was there early in the year, Walker's injury, do you see this more as a wash, or do you think that this
Well,
team is elevated enough?
my biggest question mark is you listed all the weapons, right? London, Zacchaeus, Jahan, Dotson, Kyle Pitts, a solid O line with Matthews and Lindstrom and Jawan Taylor. The Tua hasn't been healthy to start camp. Neither has Penix. I think they should just go with Tua. I don't think it's Penix. I think if you're looking to just try to maximize your season, you go with Tua. But listen, defensively, you lose Walker. Remember, 2 years ago they drafted, it was like Pierce and Walker, the 2 rushers, like in the first round, and Pierce Jr. is still there, and so you're obviously looking for going to need a big season from him rushing the passer. But when you look at that defense name wise, after that, it's like, and
Who's who?
Stefanski got credit for good defenses. I think a lot of part because the Browns just had really great defensive personnel while he was there.
Yeah.
He's an offensive guy, and so I really worry about
Plus,
Atlanta.
he had
Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Well, and the coach. Are you thinking about?
That's who I was.
I could see his face. He was with the
said,
Eagles
I
for
know,
a
we
long
all
time.
Schwartz, right?
Schwartz.
Yeah.
And so yeah. Like, to me, that's the biggest concern. And when you look at their schedule, I go to like, okay, well, Atlanta's going to have to score a lot of points to win, in my opinion. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
Dan, weeks 5 through 10, look at I didn't even list the teams. I just think your starter is either Tua or Penix, and then listen to who they're going up again weeks 5 through 10. Again, the chunk of the season. Lamar, Caleb, Purdy, Baker, Burrow, Mahomes.
Yeah, you're not better at quarterback than any of those.
Any of that.
For sure.
Any of that. And your defense,
and probably by a significant margin, right? By at
Yes.
least 10 spots in the rankings that you would say.
And like Purdy, you could argue, well, Purdy, but it's like, yeah, but he's got Kyle Shanahan, he's got Kittle, and he's been very, very productive. He's been more productive than
he's
Tua.
Still definitely better than those guys.
Yes, I would argue. Yes, 100%. So, I like Stefanski a ton, but this definitely feels like one of those where it's like he came in and this is just kind of a wash of a year. Let's bring in Tua. We'll end up starting Penix at some point. Neither of these are my guy. And we really start the rebuild next year, where it's like the expectations next year are we're the young growing team with Bijan and this young quarterback or new quarterback, whatever they choose. It just doesn't feel to me like they are going to win this division. But I again, Tampa, Carolina, and Atlanta, to me, all three feel like they could end up being like 5 win or less teams because things kind of implode. Tampa, it would be more the culture implodes with the head coach and the firiness, and Baker's unhappy and Vita Vea leaves. The other two, it feels more like Carolina just doesn't have it. And, with Bryce Young and that schedule. And then Atlanta, it feels a little bit more like they kind of purposefully realize this is not where we want to go. Yeah. New Orleans, to me, is the only team in this division
very interesting
that feels like the young team that has a ton of momentum already in the right direction. You could maybe argue Carolina, but I think we all know they don't have their quarterback, and the injuries right now to Carolina are really brutal.
I don't think I wouldn't go that far. I don't think we know that Bryce Young is not the answer. I think given how he performed at the end of the year, he's earned this year of like, hey, this is our guy this year.
All right,
and
finally.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, I hear you, but we could say the same thing about Trevor Lawrence, who didn't come on for quite some time for different reasons, you could say, obviously. But
don't you also think that Dave Canales has earned
top 10 quarterback?
Don't you think Dave Canales has also earned a Trevor Lawrence-esque prospect?
Yes, probably. Yes, I would agree. Yeah. All right, let's talk the Saints.
I'm high in the Saints, very high in the Saints.
I mean, talk about like I don't know. Shucks, the answer either, but there was definitely a lot of good moments last year.
Rookie momentum, real positive rookie momentum.
And I wouldn't say that they lost anyone like terribly consequential. Demario Davis, I would say, is the biggest name that they lost.
I actually love their additions.
Yeah, I mean ETN, Noah Fant, even as like just a nice, number 2, number 3 tight end at this point in his career would be good. Jordan Tyson, first round pick, who by all accounts right now, obviously it's just camp, but he's the camp darling as of right now. There's definitely a lot of optimism. So I agree with you that in terms of momentum, optimism, youth movement, the New Orleans Saints are the team.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you nailed it there. When you talk about Shuck and Kellen Moore, they're in this kind of together. I think Kellen Moore also will have the grace of if it feels like Shuck hits a ceiling. He's an older guy. I think he's already like 26, 27. He's one of those guys who's in the college for like forever. Yeah. So I think this is a huge year for Shuck too, where it's like, dude, this is kind of your 1 year, win enough games, get as far away from that first, top 3 or 4 picks and those quarterbacks as possible. And you probably do have the job for another year. But Moore to me feels like a really ascending. I buy stock in Kellen Moore, especially after last year, the way that team kept fighting. And offensively, they were great last year. And now you add ETN to Kamara. That's an awesome backfield. You have Olave, Jordan Tyson, Jawan Johnson, and then the offensive line with Banks Jr., Fuaga, Ruiz, really strong group there. And I would argue on defense, it's not the youngest, most elite group, but there's veterans when you talk about Chase Young and Cam Jordan, Justin Reed, Kool-Aid McKinstry, like there's veterans, guys who can play. And to be honest, in that division, they're not going up against Tom Brady every week. So that feels good. And then to me, New Orleans controls their destiny. Listen to this. Week 14 on, Dan, they control their destiny. I told you, Tampa's already got to play New Orleans twice. So they get Tampa twice, and they have Carolina, Atlanta, and Arizona. Nice. So it goes Carolina, Tampa, Arizona, Atlanta, Tampa. So if New Orleans is in the mix late and their vibes are good, think about the way they could end the schedule there. That's really, to me, if I'm New Orleans, I'm going, okay, we can control our destiny. Tampa Bay's got the Rams in there as one of their last ones. They get Arizona. That's huge. That's huge.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it there, like a strong ending to the season. They were 2-10, and then they finished 6-11. So they won 4 of their last 5.
Yep.
A lot of it was, because of Shuck's play. But there's a lot to be said for Kellen Moore to get a team that's 2-10 to still battle and get to 6 wins. I mean, that's a big shift in the standings. That's a big shift in the draft order. And there's a lot of teams that can wither at that point in time. So now you have a full off season with a little bit more stability under your belt. I think that does speak a lot to what New Orleans could do this year. They might be a candidate, despite not having this insane roster. They could be a candidate for one of the biggest changes from year to year. I mean, would you be shocked if they won 10 games this year? I'm not sure. I would be.
No.
I would be shocked if they won 12, know. But they could be a 9-8 team pretty easily and win the division. So all right, well, as we go to the AFC, is there a team that you'd be willing to, you don't have to plant the flag for, but like, is there a team that you're willing right now to say, I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to be my odds-on favorite to win the division this year?
If I had to pick a team to win the South right now, I'm leaning towards the Saints. I think I have more questions and concerns about Atlanta and Tampa, and I just think Carolina is really feisty. But man, that schedule, like I said, I mean, that is a horrific schedule for Carolina. Weeks 1 through 9 with the week 4 bye. I just don't know how they survive that. And if they're not above 500 through that stretch, then they're right. Then the vibes are so bad in Carolina, right? Like and New Orleans has an easier schedule because they finished 4th. And I feel their momentum is the one team that I feel like the momentum is totally headed in the right way.
I want to pick Carolina, but like I said, I don't. This is the division I feel.
I'll be interested when you
most up in the air
when we actually start looking at the games you're picking the schedule.
Yeah,
because I think you'll get to week 10 and be like, oh shit, I picked Carolina and they only have 4 wins.
Yeah. Crazy stuff happens though.
It's true.
I mean, this could be a team that we're like, there's just a good team.
No, it's true.
But yeah, there's just gonna be a lot that has to happen. All right, let's go to the AFC. We'll go to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep.
Great year. Finally a coming out party of sorts for Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen's first year. 13-4, first in the South. They lost to Buffalo in the wild card round by 3. They are obviously having to replace 2 of their biggest losses, which was Travis Etienne and Devin Lloyd. So 2 sides of the ball there. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Travis Hunter beyond just this, up in the air thing. It seems like they're actually planning to play him much more on defense moving forward, which, we'll see how that ends up working out. But they did lose, quite a few prominent pieces and didn't bring a whole lot of guys that you're like, oh, wow, that's a game changer there. But they were really good. And Trevor Lawrence was really good. So I feel like second year with Liam Cohen, I mean, talk about the volatility that Trevor Lawrence has had to deal with from a coaching and system standpoint. so much overturn there. There's at least some consistency. Now he did have a Doug Peterson. Yes, this is true, but last year was different. I feel this is a team that I feel confident is going to be the team to beat in this division. So they would be my early pick to win once again. And it's just playoff success is going to have to come next for the Jacksonville Jaguars if you want to be taken seriously, because Trevor Lawrence isn't getting any younger. What is he, like 20? Is he probably all close to 28? No, he's a little. He's on the younger end when he came into the league, but
this has got to be year six.
Up,
year 6, or it's year 6, I think. Listen, he had 29.
He's 26 now. He'll turn 27 this season.
Oh, wow. So listen, he had 29 touchdown passes last year. That was a high for him in a career. 9 rushing touchdowns, which was
38.
Also,
I was gonna say
also a high. And so listen, this is a guy that they're finding ways to unlock the most out of him. I'm with you. I'm really high with Lawrence and Cohen going into year 2. My biggest question mark on offense is not Travis Hunter. It's what the hell they're doing at running back 1. Right now it's listed as a guy named Tootin.
Yeah.
And he had 307 yards last year. Like, that's a concern. You need to be able to run the football to have any sort of success.
They're pretty high on him because they didn't like spend draft capital.
I guess. They
brought in Chris Rodriguez and Amir Abdullah.
So maybe he's a sleeper. Maybe he's a sleeper for your fantasy leagues. You know what I mean? Where it's like this guy, they expect big things. Listen, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers came in and really helped this team. You add in Brian Thomas Jr., I expect to have a bounce back year with Travis Hunter. I expect to have a healthy year, and that's huge for the Jags. Defensively, Walker, Armstead, Josh Hines, Allen, Travis Hunter, they got some guys on defense. And Dan, listen to this stretch of a 5-game stretch. I think there's a real strong chance the Jags could have a 5-game win streak in the middle of their season from week 7 to week 12. Home against Indy, at Baltimore, and neither of us are as high in Baltimore as a lot of people are. And then at Tennessee, at the Giants, home against Tennessee. That to me feels like all of a sudden the Jags are about a 500 team, and now all of a sudden they're 5 games above 500 and they're surging at the right moment. I think there's a real opportunity for them there. High on the Jags going into this year for sure.
Houston Texans were second in the division at 12-5. They made the playoffs, destroyed my Pittsburgh Steelers in the opening round.
Okay, so Rodgers was sick.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely the cause for that pitiful performance. But they ended up losing to New England the following round. CJ Stroud definitely, by all accounts, had a rough year. I almost feel like that's incredibly encouraging that they went 12-5 and CJ Stroud didn't have a very good year. D'Amico Ryans is clearly, they've got their coach, and he can elevate a lot. They bring in David Montgomery. They brought in a lot of offensive line help, which I do think did play a role in CJ Stroud overthinking and trying to get the ball out a lot quicker than maybe what needed to be. But there's still a lot of questions around that offense in general, right? There were moments where they were really good, and then there were moments where they just looked terrible. Tank Dell, big bounce back year, coming for him. That poor guy's been through a lot. And then obviously they have a ton of young receivers on top of Nico Collins there to round out a pretty formidable group. So really it's one of those make or break years, I would say, for CJ Stroud too, because he's a guy that's going to want to get paid very, very soon.
It's $100 million swing year for CJ Stroud, right? Let's face it. He would get a chance to start somewhere else. He's shown enough. He's got the size, unlike a Bryce Young, where it feels kind of like this is almost your career. For CJ, it feels a little bit more like, is it just going to be Texans or not? The weapons you mentioned, Montgomery and Marks, I really like that backfield. Stroud last year, he played 14 games. They were 3-0 without him. He was 19 touchdown passes. Nothing felt good as far as like explosive, consistent. Everything looked difficult. You'd hope with Nico, with Tank Dell finally coming back, Jaden Higgins, and then Montgomery as like a battering ram to rely on, and Dalton Schultz, a really nice tight end that hopefully the offensive line I still think is pretty average, but it's at least serviceable. It feels like at this point. Dan, schedule wise, look at this stretch. Week 11 on. So again, end of the season, pressure's on.
sprint towards the playoffs, they have home against Indy, home against Baltimore, at Pittsburgh, at Washington, home against the Jags, Philly, Green Bay, Tennessee.
Yikes.
That's there's some highs and lows. And if you're going to look at that and go, what you'd be really, they're probably 3-5. They'd be thrilled about in a stretch like that.
Yeah.
You got to find some wins early if you're Houston and you want now listen, Houston's defense is so good. We barely talked about them at all, but Danielle Hunter, obviously Will Anderson Jr., Stingley, Blankenship, they're so good. We'll see. I just don't know if they can have another year like that offensively and the defense not get exposed a little bit, right? Like defenses come and go. They can still be really good, but last year was like record setting good. This year, I can't expect them to be the same defense they were last year. And that's a bad sign for Houston.
And the offense just has to be better. Like it's expected to be better. It's not like they're in a situation like Tennessee last year or Vegas where it's like, okay, well, they can only do so much.
You have your quarterback, you have weapons.
You've supposedly got your franchise quarterback. You've got great weapons. Is David Montgomery's probably going to be the number one back there? I can't think
Marks.
Of who they're,
Marks, the kid out of USC. Yeah.
So they've got some dudes, and Dalton Schultz, to your point, is a really, really good receiving tight end. So they should be a lot better than they were last year. And if that's any consolation, then that makes Houston a team that can absolutely contend if they rise to that occasion. All right, let's get to the Colts, because what a freaking crazy year it was for them. Go 8-4 to start the season and then lose your final 5 games to go 8-9, miss the playoffs. Obviously, the injury to Daniel Jones, the Achilles there was the real killer for them. They lose Michael Pittman, Kwity Paye's gone, Nick Cross gone. They did lose quite a few people. They bring in Cam Taylor-Britt, Arden Key.
They paid Alec Pierce a ton, but he's injured still.
He's still injured. Yeah, absolutely. Josh Downs. This is Josh Downs' year to actually come through and show what he can do. But there's Adonai Mitchell is going to have to be. No, is he there? Or my?
No, he's on the
Jets.
Jets now.
He's with the Jets. Yeah.
No, but have Josh Downs and Tyler Warren, obviously.
Tyler Warren,
you have to rely on Jonathan Taylor too. You just paid Jonathan Taylor a nice extension.
Yeah, it came off an amazing year.
And with Quentin Nelson, that offensive line is above average. It's a really solid offensive line. He's obviously the star of it. Shane Steichen and Danny Jones. Listen, I think the Colts took everyone by surprise last year, and I think they ended the season in a complete disaster. They shouldn't have ended that way, but they got decimated, right? You lose your starting quarterback, you trade for Sauce Gardner, and then he gets injured, and so they lost their first round pick this year. Charcavius Ward on defense as well, Buckner, Latu, like they got some guys. Like it's a really solid football team. Mm-hmm. I just think this year they're not taking anyone by surprise, and I think this year, I feel like the Colts maybe gets back to the same record, but it's kind of the win one, lose one, win one, lose one. It never feels like it did at any point in time last year. And I think
were they 7-0 last year, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with Alec Pierce not starting the year healthy, and Daniel Jones. Listen, even if he's in camp right now, he's not gonna have the same burst right away. Now maybe he hits a stride mid-season, but again, I don't think any of us think Daniel Jones is truly that special. I think it was a really incredible run. I think defenses will be a lot more prepared, and I think he's going to be a lot more. I think he's going to be a little bit more limited with his mobility, and that's hurt. I think Indy. I don't have a ton of positive vibes for Indy making the playoffs this year, especially when you look at the way their season starts. They could be 1-4 pretty easily, Dan. Baltimore, Kansas City, Houston, Washington, Pittsburgh. Those are some tough defenses to start the year. Washington is the one you look at as kind of the gimme win. But Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, that's really that could be a really disastrous start for a quarterback come back from injury.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to predict them to finish where they did last year, just look a lot different. Like, not have these crazy ups and downs, just kind of consistently mediocre. Yeah. But that's where, Shane Steichen in Indy is in a tough place because is Daniel Jones going to be the guy that you're just saying this is what we're going to do for like 3-4 years, and then we're just going to, kind of do what Pittsburgh's been doing and try and do patchwork for years? Or are you just going to go all in and find your guy? That's hard to do, as we know, in today's league.
They've been trying.
So, yeah, it's a really interesting position that Indy finds themselves in. But I think we both agree they're not going to have the start to the season that they did last year. All right, well, probably the candidate for the biggest or the candidate to double their win total just by nature of only having 3 wins. It's like, good Lord. I mean, come on. And the personnel that Tennessee has it is a team that should be a 5-6 win team, on paper at minimum. We saw great things from Cam Ward last year. Robert Saleh's there, brings in Brian Dable to change things around, and who did they lose? Chigakonkwo. That is a loss for sure. Kyer Elam. But I thought they had a really nice draft. They bring in Carnell Tate. They get Keldrick Falk as well. So 2 first-round picks for them. And they really addressed a lot of key needs across the roster.
Yeah,
I expect this to be a floor-raising year for the Tennessee Titans.
Totally agree. They're weak at tight end, and besides Simmons on defense, it's not a lot of no-name guys. So you kind of hope that Saleh can just make something work with a lot of those guys. And by the end of the year, we'll know who their names are because Saleh has turned them into players. Listen, offensively, it feels like Cam Ward, at least he's got help, right? You look at, you say, okay, Tony Pollard, Carnell Tate, Calvin Ridley, with a really strong O-line. Skronsky just got a big contract. J.C. Latham, like, okay, you have Brian Dable. You at least it feels like a fair fight, right? Last year didn't feel like a fair fight for the kid,
right?
At least now it feels like, okay, we have some sort of counterpunch to whatever the other team's doing. I think we're going to learn a lot about who Cam Ward is weeks 2 through 5. The defenses they play: Philly, the Giants, that front 7. Baltimore, Houston, that front 7. That's 4 in a row that are just monsters. You look at you think about who they have up front on those 4 defenses. We're going to learn a lot about where Cam Ward is. That could be a 4-game losing streak, but we could still feel good about Cam Ward depending on how he plays in those games. And if they find a way to win one of those or 2 of those games, holy smokes, will we have a really different tune to sing about Cam Ward. I think this is a team that still probably finishes last in the division, but it definitely feels like it's a team that will have trajectory that feels right.
Yeah, I agree.
They just need another
New Orleans Saints type of season from last year.
They just need another draft and another offseason to really start to fill out that roster. He needs a tight end, maybe a wide receiver 3, and then another wide receiver 2 if Carnell Tate becomes the 1. I hope I like Cam Ward. I'm rooting for him. I don't want to see it end badly.
Do you think that there's more pressure, despite the situation? Put that aside. Do you think there's more pressure on a guy like Robert Saleh the second time around as head coach?
Yeah.
That there's an expectation that, okay, you've got to get it figured out a little bit quicker.
I think it's more like, so I agree there's definitely pressure, but I think the pressure is more like it can't look unorganized. It can't look, you know what I mean? It can't look like Aaron Glenn's first year with the Jets. Like, it has to look like, hey, we're only losing because we just are a year away from talent. Like, we're just a talent. We're not losing because we have boneheaded mistakes, and we're like, it has to be really.
This is where you have to be a team that is one of the least penalized in the league.
Yes, right. That's a great way to say it. That's a great way to say it. The coaching, you can't have ugly turnovers. You can't make like a bad decision at a 2-minute to go where it's like, Saleh, why'd you kick that field goal? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it has to be like Dan Campbell when that first year with the Lions, like, they were losing, but it was like, oh, we can see what's going on here. Like, so for Saleh, I would agree. I think he has to. There's pressure for sure, but I think it's got to be like, it doesn't have to be a ton of wins, but it has to be like we're figuring out our organization. And I'm glad We haven't done the Norths yet because now we finally got the word out of Minnesota. Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
For thinking about this to not have to worry about a quarterback battle.
Which is pretty unshocking, right? I mean, did you expect? I expected Kyler to
definitely not
win that job, right?
Definitely not
yeah.
shocking.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give him the opportunity. That's a team that could be very interesting. If Kyler Murray does get unlocked by Kevin O'Connell,
I'm actually shocked. I'll be shocked now if McCarthy's still on the roster by week 1.
Really? You think that? Wow.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where just like give this kid a chance to go somewhere else. Like it just didn't work. We're moved on. We're moved on. Because even if Kyler gets injured and you start him, and even if he's good, it's like, do you really go to him? Do you start the year with him? Like, just give him a chance somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, he's like clearly not going to be the guy for the future. But that's, I mean, a year removed from taking him, what, 6th, was it?
Like if I was Kevin O'Connell, I'd say to him and the GM, like, you're going to start every snap of this first preseason game, and we're going to highlight the heck out of you, and we're going to give you a chance to go somewhere.
Yeah. I'm excited to see, just anecdotally here, excited to see Will Howard finally take some snaps. It's been,
and Drew Aller.
It sucks when you go a whole, like the fact that he got hurt so early,
and all the press has been about Drew Aller.
It has. I know. There's like pressure on Will Howard, honestly, because they have 4 quarterbacks there, and they're like, are they going to keep 4? It's pretty taboo to keep 4 quarterbacks on your roster, but 2 of them are young guys in Will Howard and Drew Aller, and you're obviously keeping Rodgers. Is Mason Rudolph going to be? That would be my pick to cut him and see what you got. But Will Howard's going to have some pressure for sure. And but look, I mean, Drew Aller's got a great arm. That's a camp arm. Do you like? It's processing and running the ship that matters more for Mike McCarthy's offense. So,
we'll see next week.
That's this Thursday. So
next week on the show we'll go out west. We'll do our wests, and that'll be a lot of fun. And then in 2 weeks from now we'll do the north, and then we're on to actually putting our money where our mouth is, making some predictions.
Yeah, the full prediction episode. Looking forward to it. Should be great. We hope you stay tuned for that. And please go to ffsqc.org. There you can sign up for our Toys for Tots leagues. There's still plenty of room to sign up, play some fantasy football for a good cause. Head over there. You can check it out at For Frequency's Sake, the Facebook page there as well. Plenty of links across social media to get involved. But that'll do it for us here on the Football Lounge. And like Mark said, we'll see you next week for our look at the West.